Alrighty, so today I wanted to do an entire run of Nidhoggr with the Ragnarok team, just in case you don't want to use the Goddess team. Maybe you skip the new Margaret that's coming out, and this is your best option. Honestly, I still really like this option. I have obviously not used the Goddess team just yet, because Margaret is not out as of the time of me recording this, but this is the team that I've been using for the past 2 months to beat Nidhoggr. Some weeks can be a little bit more difficult than others, just depending on your RNG, of course, but for the most part, it's still way smoother and way more doable than any other team that I've used prior to this. So, we're going to go over the team setup and everything, and then we're going to hop into floor 1. The artifact card set that I use for this one is actually the deer set, because we don't have a full raced team. If it was, if we didn't have Scotty on the team, we could potentially run a full unknown team, but Scotty's actually really nice. She has a heal on her ultimate, and you're getting a lot of debuffs throughout the first 2 floors, and the last phase of floor 3 has a lot of debuffs as well. So you can kind of use the debuffs a little bit to your advantage for the most part. So we're using the deer card set there. The team setup that I use is maybe a little bit more peculiar than other people's, just because I actually rely on my Megilda to tank, which might be a little bit odd. I know that some people use Freya. I know that some people use Scotty. I just have the best results out of Megilda, so I'm just using what I'm comfortable with. It's more of one of those things where it's if it's not broken, don't fix it. So I'm just doing what works for me. This is how I use the team. Obviously, you might be able to finagle some stuff around, try out some different things, see what works best for you. But I have HP defense on everybody's links. I don't necessarily know that it matters too much. I guess if you really wanted to go for just even more damage on some of your characters, you could go for attack crit. You are going to go first no matter what anyway, so, I mean, potentially I could just swap all of these. I might end up doing that before we get started here, but the actual characters themselves, you'll notice that the Megilda gear is attack crit damage, which is a little bit odd. I know a lot of people do have trouble with her tanking, or just taking too much damage, but with her having the Tarmiel link on, and I have a rare rune with full recovery rate rolls on it, she actually is able to sort of heal a little bit better than most of the time you would sort of have her just taking too much damage and dying. But it works for the most part for me. I don't have too many issues out of it. Obviously, there could be a little bit of RNG problems with not drawing enough cleanses, or being able to cleanse debuffs off to be able to heal and everything, because my Scotty is only 1/6. I do not have the greatest heal on her ultimate. So do be aware of that, is my sort of scenario here. I do have Holy Relics on all 4 of these characters. Megilda's obviously doesn't matter because it's a bird-only relic. Scotty's, I think, is probably the next one that doesn't matter as much. Obviously, she's going to get a little bit of a stat boost anytime she attacks without having debuffs on her, which is kind of nice. Just having her do more damage in general can be helpful. Freyr's is pretty nice to have. I think you can get away with not having it, but at the end of the day, the run will go smoother if you do have it. And then I think Freya's is pretty much essential, because you're going to want to use hers to make sure that you're getting as many of the stance removals on her single target as you possibly can. So that is the team setup. I think I'm going to swap over these link characters to attack crit really quickly, and then we are going to hop in. If you have any sort of questions about the rest of the team or anything, feel free to let me know. I guess other than that, 1/6 on her, 4/6 on her, 6/6 on him, and then 1/6 on Megilda. So yeah, let's swap these links. Let's hop in. Alrighty, so here on floor 1, you don't have to worry about too many crazy things. As far as mechanics go, I think it's pretty straightforward for the most part. The only real mechanic that you have to worry about is phase 2 and phase 3. So phase 1, you basically just want to try to start stacking up passives, getting stats as much as you can, and just dealing damage to the character or the enemy, so that way you can, of course, push phase. So what we're going to do here is we're going to put a debuff on... we'll attack with this card first and then throw the other Scotty card out, so that way we can get 2 stacks of her passive going. Using Freya's passive to gain stats for the entire... I think is it just her, or is it... Okay, it is the allies as well. You increase Pierce rate by 4% for every debuff applied to enemies. But you also increase the hero's attack-related stat by 7% for allies on the battlefield. So stacking up, using her cards, whenever possible. Make sure you're not throwing out the single targets all willy-nilly. You don't want to keep those, so that way you can get through phase 2 of each floor a little bit easier. And then we'll go ahead and throw this Megilda card out, so that way we can get a little bit of ultimate move gauge. Because if you don't know, Red Megilda gives you 1 ultimate move gauge for your entire team per skill use from her. So yeah, just getting a couple of stacks going, getting some stats and stuff like that on everybody is just really good, obviously, so that way you can tank a little bit better. This guy can deal some pretty hefty damage, so do be aware, like, he's going to debuff you first, and then I think his other skill is a weak point skill, so this card is going to do a lot of damage. Boom. Luckily, the Tarmiel Link and everything is going to give us some pretty decent health back. He's actually not using double single target, which is, I guess, best case scenario. We can go ahead and cleanse those off and get a little bit of a heal going. We do have another card from Freya here, and we can maybe, because we're cleansing off these debuffs, I guess technically we should cleanse, use the Scotty card again, so we put another debuff on her for more stats. We can use this, and then I think I'm going to go ahead and maybe throw the Freya card out, so that way not only are we getting a little bit more passive going, but we can hopefully kill this phase. I'm not 100% sure if we'll be able to, but Freya does some really nice damage. So boom. Okay, we do crit, we do kill, so that's kind of nice. We don't have to worry about him applying more debuffs to us and then going into the second phase needing a cleanse or a heal or whatever. Miguel does down a little bit of HP, but it should be okay for the most part. So in second phase, alrighty, sorry about that. My dog threw up, fortunately, but it is what it is. So anyways, he is going to put these stacks on every time I think it's every 2 or 3 turns he'll reapply them, but basically these are just going to be damage reduction stacks. So you're going to do a lot less damage to him, and the only way to get them off is to use stance cancel cards, or in this case we have, because of Freya's Holy Relic, we can actually use the single targets from her to remove the stacks, which is nice because it has stance cancel effect on it. So what we're going to do here is, I think we'll go ahead and merge these, maybe throw Freya's ultimate out and go ahead and use this, so that way we can get Miguelda and Freyr's ultimate in hand here. We don't have any cleanses or anything like that. He is going to be able to extort you on this turn, so he's probably going to target Miguelda, and if he extorts and then attacks after it, which he normally does, it's going to deal a really decent amount of damage, like pretty high. So there's the extort, here's an attack. That's a lot of damage, and then he's actually extorting again, which is going to do a lot of damage also. But luckily, the Tarmiel Link is going to give us some good HP back there. We could potentially just cleanse it off and heal at the same time, which could be kind of nice, but it's only a 1-turn extort. So I think what we're going to do is remove another stack, and then I think we'll go ahead and ult with Scotty to heal it, and then we can ult with Freyr. And then we'll throw that out just in case it doesn't kill, but because she's extorted, it's probably not going to do the greatest damage if it doesn't, if it does go off, which it looks like it probably will. 252, yeah, this should still kill though, which means 24k, that's not great, but because we killed the phase with it, that should actually still be some decent lifesteal back, I think. We'll see how much she has. It probably, okay, she's at full HP, so that's pretty good. The final phase here is a little bit more interesting. Ideally, if you can get a level 3 card going into this phase, you can actually use that to take the entire ultimate, or the immortality gauge down. They have adjusted it, so I'm not 100% sure what all of the normal values are for it at this point, but having more leveled up cards is going to be ideal for you in this scenario. So I think what we're going to do is use this and this to just deal a little bit of damage. The level 1 cards aren't going to do too much to the gauge here. It looks like they're actually already doing 20%, which is way more than I figured it would be. But the level 2 cards should take it down by quite a decent portion, and then we can just use some cards to hopefully kill here. So if you get him below, I think it's 30% HP, he's going to gain 2 of these attack-related stat buffs that are just really hard to deal with. So you definitely don't want to do too much damage to him. So I think what we're going to do is maybe even stall a turn, merge these. I could use maybe a level 2. That way we can get her ultimate as well, and then we'll go ahead and merge these. Because like I said, I don't want to do too much damage. I also would like to be able to try to cleanse and heal and all of that good stuff at the same time before we move on to the next floor. Okay, he's using a ruin skill, so this might actually do, I'm not sure how much damage this is going to do. It's pretty decent. Is he debuffing us at all? Because if he's not, which it doesn't look like he is. Okay, there's a little bit of a debuff. This actually should be a debuff as well. We can use the cleanse card to heal a little bit back there. So let's go ahead and do that, and then we can use the Scotty card to heal a little bit as well, and then we'll just use these two cards to kill. Hopefully the Scotty card will give us a good heal here on Megilda, because she's going to be down probably the most HP. So boom. Okay, that's 280. That's really, really good. So we do push phase there. I think she looked full, but she might be missing a little bit of HP. Now we're pretty much good to go. So that's floor 1. Pretty easy, simple. Let's move into floor 2 where it gets a little bit more complicated. Alrighty, so floor 2 is a little bit more mechanic heavy. You have to be a little bit more conscious of the cards that you're using here. Obviously, the gimmick to floor 1 is, you can see he has an immortality buff on, which is a blue debuff, but you have to remove it last and kill in the same card, or else he's going to get a huge, massive stat increase and absolutely destroy you. So we're just going to try to stack some passives here, get a little bit of damage off while we can, and sort of take things just as they come for the beginning here. If you can just get more, Freya cards or Scotty cards, stack up some passives, do your thing. Obviously, that's great. He is going to apply some consistent debuffs on this phase. I'm still not 100% sure how he stacks them, but he's going to put a corrosion stack on. I think it's before each of his attacks, but I think it may be just one at the beginning of his turn, and then that debuff card in general maybe just applies one. So sometimes he just does this attack twice and he doesn't apply that many. Luckily we got a little bit lucky here. We got an extra cleanse card, so we're going to use that to go ahead and cleanse off here. We have a stance cancel that we can merge into, which is kind of nice. I think what we're going to do is Freya passive, go ahead and use this, even though I don't really want to, but we can go ahead and cleanse and save this one for the next phase if we need it, or even potentially save it for the final phase. And then hopefully this level 2 card from Scotty should be able to kill here. So, Pierce card here, doing pretty good damage. The single target normally does a lot. We did crit on it, which is really great. If you wait too long, he actually puts an adaptation buff on, which is going to be kind of like Tarmiel Link, where he's going to gain HP back every time he sort of takes damage. Can be a little bit troublesome, but as long as your damage is good enough, you should be able to still whittle him down. He's not going to be getting like the most HP back by any means. The thing to worry about in this phase is each time you remove a stance, which you probably will be doing that quite often, he's actually going to give you a 1-turn infect, which is a red debuff, so you can cleanse it off. It's not the worst thing in the world. It used to be a gray debuff that lasted 2 turns. It is now a red debuff that lasts 1 turn, so it's not as hard to deal with, but just be conscious if you need to heal or anything like that. Make sure you do it before you stance cancel. Another thing to worry about is that I think at the end of each of his second turns, or like at the end of every 2 turns, he's going to use a stance card, and you would like to have a stance cancel like dedicated for that if at all possible. So because we have extra cleanses here, I'm gonna try to, I don't even know if I really want to use this cleanse card here. I think I'm going to though. So that'll actually heal Megilda back up to full, and we can try to get some more of I should have used, well, actually, no, I think I did that right. As long as I use her ultimate last, I should still end up giving a gauge to everybody else. Still has 2 stacks on, but we're dealing pretty okay damage. The Freyr ult normally does really well. I think this should be enough to kill. Okay, it does. I have a 1/6 Megilda, so I mean, it's literally as low as it could be, so still killing on that is really great. That kind of just goes to show like how much like stat synergy is going on with this team. This phase is where it gets to be a bit of a nuisance. Every single turn, whenever it ticks back over to my turn, I'm going to gain, or I'm going to have 3 corrosion stacks on me. So he doesn't stack them or anything, but that will obviously, tick your health down quite a bit. So the idea with this phase is you need to keep him below 50% HP, And if you can do that, he will lose 33% of his gauge each turn that you do so. The last turn, you need to do it 3 turns, basically. The last turn, he'll actually lose 34%, so it loses the entire 100. Yeah, we're just going to... I don't have the greatest damaging cards here, actually, which is kind of nuts, but these cards do some pretty good damage, so I'm going to hope that I can get away with using these. Another thing to note is that he is going to be placing a blue damage reduction debuff on himself or a damage reduction buff on himself each turn, which is going to make it to where he is going to take less damage unless you remove them. So I like to save the buff removal from Scotty if I can't seem to pull more for a little bit later in the phase, so that way I can be sure that I am not getting to the point where he has way too many stacks, I'm doing like 0 damage, etc. So, got really good Miguelda cards here. I can actually try to push for ultimates pretty easily, and I pulled an extra cleanse, which is perfect. Cleanses are like the make or break for this phase. I have done this like 5 times today already, I'll be honest. It's not been a great week for Nidhoggr so far, but the cleanse is going to either save you or it's going to go terribly. So, because I have them, I'm going to go ahead and cleanse that. It's going to give us some more ultimate move gauge as well. I think I'm going to go ahead and use this so that way I don't merge and lose too much. That'll give us ultimate move gauge on everybody. And then I think I'm going to go ahead and throw this stack out. And then I'm already going to have ultimate gauge on everybody. Maybe. Let's go ahead and ult first then. Let's ult first. Then we can cleanse ult removal and then do this. So that way we get 2 gauge back on Scotty, and we'll get closer to being able to get her ultimate again. So I think that's just the better play here. The Freya card, the Freya single target, can deal just like really wacky, crazy high damage on this phase. Well, actually, I don't know if he has a damage cap on this phase or not, but it can still do some really, really good damage. Just be careful, you know, make sure that you're not wasting your buff removal cards too early or anything like that. Make sure you're doing good damage to keep him whittled down, and that way as soon as his bar reaches 0, you can try to cleanse, heal everybody back up to full, and then hopefully push for phase, or push for game on the phase as soon as possible. So, let's go ahead and remove his buffs. We're going to go ahead and use the... I think we can actually get it... Well, let's go ahead and remove the buffs. We'll use the Freya ultimate, and then we'll use the Miguelda ultimate and the ultimate removal cards. That way he only hits us with 2 cards this turn. That way we can rely on the Freyr ult to kill, hopefully. I maybe should have made sure that I had Scotty ultimate in hand. I'm not 100% sure that we actually got it here. I think we're 1 ultimate move gauge away, if I'm not mistaken. But it is what it is. We're going to have to just kind of see how it goes. Actually, no, I did pull it, actually. So that's actually really good. He's got not great HP. I think he should... He lifesteals back a little bit here. Only 2 cards. We're at a halfway decent looking HP, so we're gonna cleanse. I guess. Well, we need to cleanse first because of there's no phase after this one or whatever. We won't be able to cleanse last. So we're gonna cleanse. We're gonna use this, and then hopefully that is enough healing for everybody to be pretty much up to full. Freya is technically missing more HP, so I almost want to use her cards to try to lifesteal back some HP if possible, but I also pretty much need to kill this phase, so let's do it like this maybe, and then that will guarantee the kill. We should be really close to full HP if we're not already. Okay, that actually looked really, really good. Boom, we kill. That was probably the smoothest floor 2 I've had all day, which is great. Just know that obviously RNG will destroy you if it gets a chance. So we're at full HP on everybody, which is ideal. That is what you're looking for to go into floor 3, because floor 3, there's a bit of stuff to deal with. Alrighty, so floor 3 is a little bit different because we actually have, my camera's actually in the way here, but he has an immortality gauge. I just realized that that was blocking it the entire time, unfortunately, so I'm sorry about that. I'll move it for the rest of this video, but he has an immortality gauge for every single phase at this point, which is going to be a little bit more troublesome to deal with. Actually, I think I might just move it to the left a little bit, so that way you can still see it, but I'm still roughly in the same area. But this phase, I tend to do the cheesy method. I actually don't know all of the, like, the actual mechanics to this this phase right here, because I've always just used the cheesy method, which is basically going to be using these two cards just to buff a little bit of stats and everything, using both of my Megilda cards and hoping that I can draw an additional Megilda card so that way I can push ultimate for at least 3 people on phase 2. Because this phase can stall you for quite a while, and it can be just really annoying. But I find it to be very easy to try to draw an additional Megilda card. Actually, we pulled 2, which is fantastic. That's like best case scenario. If not, I tend to reset and just go back in hoping to pull a Megilda card each time. I know that is not ideal scenario there, but you know, he deals a decent amount of damage on this phase 2. Like, obviously, he's doing some hefty HP here, but we're gonna go for the ultimates on everybody. I can actually do it like this and get everyone's ultimate, which is fantastic. And I'll still have a Megilda card as well. So we can hopefully lifesteal a little bit back here with Freya, because she ends up taking a pretty good amount of damage. But if we do it like this and we just get our ultimates in hand ready to go, we can just go ahead and basically take down the entire gauge all at one time and not have to worry about too many of the mechanics, which is honestly just really nice. like I said, I'm sorry, I don't actually know the mechanics to this this phase too well, but at the end of the day, you know, it is what it is. So I'm gonna go ahead and use these 2 ultimates, and then that one, and then that is enough to kill. Actually, I'm gonna go ahead and just merge these for a little bit heavier of an attack next. So that should heal us a little bit. That's not too crazy. That actually crits, so that's really good. We should get some good lifesteal back on that. And then killing with the Megilda ultimate will basically get her back up to full, which is nice. So Freyer's actually gonna be missing some HP here. I think, yeah, he's still missing a pretty decent amount here. This phase is where it gets a bit annoying. I actually don't have any stance removal cards, which is really bad, because he actually has a damage increase buff on right now, which is 50%. So we're probably going to take a lot of damage here, if not die, and I'll have to reset. So yeah, floor 3 is just super annoying. Let's go for... we'll put a buff or debuff on ourselves. Like I said, the first earlier in the run, the first 2 phases of floor 3, 0 debuffs. So you literally can't use this to heal at all, which is super annoying. Basically, the way this fight works is every time you take a stance off, he's going to gain a new gray debuff that indicates like which cards are going to remove his immortality gauge, or like deal percentage to it. So it can be quite troublesome. So we're gonna go for, I guess I'll just go ahead and throw that out, and then I don't really think I need these buff removal cards right now, so I think I'm just going to go ahead and throw those out as well, and then I may even just hold on to the ultimate, because I know that one of the buffs he gets is ultimates deal damage to it. Cannot use recovery skills, so I'll try to use maybe this to lifesteal back a little bit of HP if possible, but we're not going to be dealing too much damage in this phase, of course. So getting rid of those out of hand, we'll get the rest of the stacks that we can get from Scotty's Holy Relic there, so that'll be kind of nice, I guess. Like I said, this is probably not going to do too much damage at all, which is really bad, and we were not able to get rid of the increased damage dealt stack, so that's bad. Okay, that didn't hit too hard. This doesn't extort or anything like that. It's not too crazy. Ooh, barely living there, so that's nice. Let's go for the stance removal. and then ultimate, and then I'm going to go ahead and use this as well, so that way we can lifesteal and try to just get some extra damage out. At this point, you can see this buff right here is ultimates, so ultimates are actually going to deal percentage to his stack there, or his gauge. Every time you use a stance cancel card, it is going to increase his gauge, so that is definitely something that you have to worry about a little bit. If you do not attack with a character, they gain a darkness stack, so that is also bad. It's a lot. He puts on a stance, which means that we now have to remove the stance, which is going to make his gauge go up a little bit, but it's okay. It's not the worst thing in the world. We're going to go ahead and stack some more debuffs, I think, on Scotty here, and we're going to go ahead and take that ultimate off, because that would be quite troublesome to deal with right now. So that's going to make his gauge go up. Now we can use buff cards. You can see up here in the top left, that is the buff card symbol. So if we use that, it will actually take some gauge off. The idea is to basically just stance remove to the point where the cards that you have in hand are going to be able to remove the gauge. So you can just spam ults, spam, you know, buff cards, whatever you need to be able to do to get rid of any gauge he has. So it's definitely a bit to worry about, I would say. Genuinely don't know if I can kill here, but we can use this buff card. That'll remove some gauge. Unfortunately, we're not going to cleanse off any debuffs or anything like that, and I basically need to prep for stance removal next turn. So let's do something like this. The buff card is going to remove some gauge, the two ultimates are going to remove some gauge, and I think that's basically it. So hopefully this will get him down to... I didn't get him low enough. We have 1% gauge left, and yeah, that wasn't going to kill either way. So we're fine for the moment. HP's looking okay for the most part. Okay, we got buff canceled there. We have two ultimates in hand. Let's go for this, and then buff removal again. It's actually going to merge those as well, so we can keep drawing decent cards. Oh, okay, that actually killed. Anyway, okay, I think his gauge was just low enough there, and his health was low enough for me to go ahead and kill with that. So that actually works out really, really nicely. Just looking at these and being like, now I got to explain this is just insane to me. Basically, the way that this phase works is you will need to keep him below 10% HP. Like, you have to deal at least 10% HP to him every single turn, which is hard because he has 2 million HP. It's not incredibly hard, and there's no damage cap or anything, so you're actually going to be doing a lot of damage to him. You can see he's using 3 debuffs here. We have 2 cleanses, which is actually really good for us. So we're just going to go ahead and maybe use the ultimate there. I think I'm going to go ahead and just spam the rest of these cards and get rid of this Scotty card out of hand, because that crits 4/6. I've seen people hit like 2 million damage alone with her ultimate, which is actually insane. But I think the lower you can get him, the more immortality gauge he's actually going to lose, which is ideal. I think it's below 70%, but I've heard people say 50. But the max you can take off at one time is 25% here. So that is ideal, of course, to do a lot of damage. That's basically why I didn't go just like throw out the Freyr ultimate while I had it. We're going to try to use it this turn to get him down below as well. The Abyss from Freya's ultimate is really nice too, because that's already got us a really good way towards 10%. So we're just going to go ahead and I think ultimate... I think I'm going to go ahead and use this ultimate as well. We'll go ahead and cleanse off and then waste this. These two cards typically hit a bit harder, so I'm going to try to keep those for next phase. Okay, almost killed there. He wouldn't actually die because he has the immortality stack on, but you're basically just dealing as much damage as possible each turn and then stalling him out until his immortality gauge is over with, and then at that point you just have to beat through a ton of HP to be able to kill, which is not easy, but it's you know, it is what it is. I'm getting a phone call. I'll be right back. Hello? What's up?
What you doing?
I'm working.
Oh, yeah.
Alrighty, so He's going to ult this turn. Ideally, if you do not have Freyr on the team, you do not want him to ult and attack in the same turn because it puts on a ton of ignites and makes you take more damage. Freyr, fortunately, has the passive to where you cannot be ignited, so we don't really have to worry about it too much. But less damage is less damage. We could potentially just go ahead and throw it out if we need to. I think ideally here, though, we're going to... We're okay on HP, I think, if we're going to go ahead and remove the ultimate. So let's go ahead and maybe do something like this. That's not going to take... I don't think that's going to be nearly enough damage to take the gauge all the way down to where we want it to be, but we'll get some good card draw, hopefully, and it'll be enough to at least deal some to his gauge. So we'll see how this goes. We're definitely not going to deal 70% here. This should get him below 50%. I guess this will be a good indicator on if that's 25% or not. Does it deal? No, it's only like 20-something%. Maybe that's 20%. Not even. I don't even think that's quite 20%. I'm really bad with numbers. Either way, we have to worry about removing the stance this turn, so we do have stance cancel, which is nice. We can go ahead and use that. We might as well go ahead and throw these out, and then I guess I don't technically have to worry about removing the ultimate move gauge, but let's do that first anyway. Oh, I can't. I actually have to make sure that I stance removal first. I'm not even 100% sure what this stance does, but it's not what I would call good. Okay, so it reflects all damage, so you definitely want to make sure that you get rid of that. Let's go ahead and do something like this, so that way we should be pretty good. We'll see how much damage... Ooh, that actually did a lot. How much is the Abyss Ultimate going to do here? I'm assuming he's going to be like 0% HP. Unfortunately, because we didn't do enough last turn, we are going to have to stall for one more turn before we can kill, so that's unfortunate, but, you know, it is what it is. Sometimes you don't got the damage to do it all in one go. Glad I didn't let that merge, because we did not draw an extra ult removal card. Like I said, I mean, with Freyr on the team, it's not the biggest deal in the world. You could probably eat it and be fine, but ideally, you don't really want to have to deal with it if possible, so let's cleanse to heal up a little bit. I think I'm going to go ahead and ult, remove that, and then that's actually going to give us Freyr's ultimate, which is really good because that's going to help us get through a lot of that HP. And then we can go ahead and maybe... It doesn't matter how low we get him at this point because he's going to basically full heal before we can start worrying about it. And this still should be enough damage to take down the entire gauge. So boom. Alright, pretty good damage actually from that. That should actually lifesteal us back a pretty decent bit. He doesn't get the ult now. This will do okay damage. And then that brings him down to 0%, which is great. He's going to... I think he full heals at the end of his turn. I'm not 100% sure. He does get this massive stat increase though. So I think maybe that's where a lot of the healing comes from. Okay, it is. So we do not have a way to take off the ultimate move gauge this turn, but... he also isn't attacking after the ultimate, so we're just going to eat it. Let's go for the ultimate into double attack, and we'll go ahead and use one of these cards to deal good damage, but we have a stance cancel for the end of the second turn, if this doesn't already kill, actually. It's going to be really close, actually. I think we might end up killing here. Freya? Oh, so close. We don't have Abyss or anything either, and he is going to be able to heal back a decent amount there, so not too bad, though. We can stance cancel at the very beginning. We even pulled an extra one if we need it. Oh, no. Magelda actually died there. Ooh. I think that stat increase was more than I was bargaining for. Okay, so we still might be able to pull this out here. Magelda's dead. No crit on that either, which is really unfortunate. Genuinely don't know if I can pull this off now. I literally might have died right here at the very end, which is super unfortunate. Yikes. Yeah, I think you just need to make sure that you have stance removals whenever he pops the stat buff, because that is way too much damage to deal with. Yeah, 30% all stats is quite a lot. So that's unfortunate for us. We're going to have to just... I don't know what else we can do. I definitely should have pushed for, I think, Freyr's ultimate here. But I think he's dead either way after this turn. So, yikes. Alrighty, I'm back. Having some real trouble with it this week, obviously. But yeah, we are back on floor 3, phase 3. I'm looking pretty good for the moment. He's popping stats this turn. And I have Freyr ultimate in hand ready to go. I have an ultimate removal if I need it, which I don't know if I will or not, but hopefully it's not going to be too big of an issue. No cleanse or heal just yet, but the passive healing could be okay for the moment, and then we should be able to get Scotty's ultimate as well. So let's go ahead and go for... I think I'm going to go for double Scotty card into the ultimate here, into the Freya card here. I could potentially even merge it, which I think I'm going to merge it for the ultimate move gauge, so that way I can get her ult as well, so that way I can try to blow through this phase as fast as possible. Because it's just a matter at this point, of taking down a whole bunch of HP. Maybe I should have just went ahead and used it there. Freya's kind of low. Did I screw myself here is a good question. Okay, we live. That's very, very good. He's putting up stance this turn, which is not that big of an issue, I don't think. And I have the ultimate removal. So let's go for double Freya card here to just deal as much damage as possible. We're going to ult for a bit of a heal into ultimate removal. That is going to give us Freya's ultimate here. Ooh, actually, this might kill, actually, which I think will be great. Okay, there we go. So, there's a lot to worry about. Obviously, it is still a pretty hard fight overall. Definitely harder than any of the previous fights. But it's definitely a lot more doable than it used to be. They've obviously nerfed a couple of the different parts of the fight itself. You know, the team is obviously always evolving as new characters and stuff like that come out. It'll only get easier, and, you know, obviously the game sort of releases characters and power creeps and stuff like that. So, really nice drops there, by the way. But overall, it's still tough. I did a full breakdown of all of the floor mechanics and everything like that in a previous video, so hopefully I gave you a decent amount of, you know, information on this one. I am super sick of fighting this today, to be honest with you. If you have any additional questions or anything like that, feel free to leave them down in the comments below. I will try to answer them to the best of my abilities, but I have been trying to record this for like 2 to 3 hours, or maybe even more than that at this point. So I'm just kind of done with it. I think I actually now have enough to craft my very last holy relic, so we might as well go ahead and grab that. But that is going to be it from me today. Like I said, if you have any questions, comments, anything like that, leave them down in the comments below. I'll be happy to try to answer them. But yeah, feel free to subscribe. We'll definitely be using the Angel team next and trying to see how well Margaret actually helps out the fight for Goddesses. Wasn't a big fan of the Goddess team beforehand, but who knows? Maybe my mind will get changed. But that is it from me. Hopefully you guys have a nice day. Feel free to subscribe, all that good stuff. I'll see you later.